Are you a highly sensitive person? And maybe you wonder, how does that affect your manifesting? Well, today we're going to be talking about just that topic. You're listening to Ariana Rollins, and welcome back to Mindful Manifesting. We're going to be diving into something that's very close to my heart, and I know for many of you, deeply personal too. You're caring, you're compassionate, maybe you're empathic, maybe you're a highly sensitive person. And you have a lot of energy, love, support that you give to others. So, are you someone who feels everything? The little shifts in energy when you enter a room, a friend's unspoken needs, maybe kind of the space, the mood of a space. You walk in and it just feels off. If so, you might be what's known as highly sensitive, or HSP. I don't generally like labels, but this topic is so important. Sometimes labels work, right? So today we're going to talk about what it really means to be a highly sensitive person, how it overlaps with empathy and compassion, and very much about how important it is, if you want to manifest, to strengthen those receiving muscles. So, how to move beyond overwhelm into sustainable loving, sustainable service. I'll share a personal travel story and a practical exercise to help you anchor this awareness into your mindful manifesting journey. And yes, I'll share some tools from my book, Mindful Achiever, because I truly believe self-awareness is the most powerful manifesting skill of all. All right. So, what's an HSP? Well, let's start with that. What's the basics? Well, it's a term coined by Dr. Elaine Aron to describe people who deeply process the world around them. If you find yourself picking up on subtext, like what people aren't saying beneath the conversation, I don't know why. I've always been like that. It's almost like I could hear the music beneath the words. You get overly stimulated and you feel the emotional temperature of others. You might be part of the 15 to 20% of the population who are highly sensitive. It's not a flaw. Actually, it's a beautiful capacity for attunement when managed mindfully, when you manage that super skill. A couple of signs that you might be is you're easily moved by nature, music, art. Like you go to the ocean, you find yourself taking this deep breath and just settling in and feeling held. Or that music or looking at a piece of art really touches you deeply. Those don't affect me, but boy, does nature. You need downtime after going to a social event, having a busy work day. If you're a coach and you're working with a lot of people, you need downtime. Maybe you're someone who says, you know what? This is my phrase. I just need to receive. And I'll sit down and watch one of my favorite series on Netflix. I'm binge watching the Apple TV. Had no idea it was so good. Anyway, that's what I noticed for myself, is I need to receive. And those are the words. Maybe you notice when others are uncomfortable before they say a word. And maybe you just try to help. Maybe you speak up or you give what you think that they need. Being highly sensitive doesn't just mean you notice more. It means you feel more. And often you care more deeply. But that caring deeply can really cost you. So let's talk about empathy versus compassion and the highly sensitive link. It brings me, something that I appreciate about my closest friends, their empathy, is that they can sense and even share in someone else's emotions or pain. Maybe you have that. As a highly sensitive person, you might find you're extremely good at this, even when you wish you could turn it off. Compassion, though, is different. I was thinking about, what is this compassion? What is this empathy? And I've got a great story that demonstrates this. I'll share this in just a moment. So compassion, let's think about it as empathy plus action. It's the urge to actually help, soothe, or comfort someone. Highly sensitive people tend to be both empathic, feeling deeply, and compassionate, which can be a superpower but also lead straight to exhaustion if not recognized. And maybe this episode is going to help you recognize that you're that kind of person. And most importantly, if it's not balanced. Because here's the thing. Not all highly sensitive people are always compassionate in action. Sometimes we can get so overloaded, it can actually lead us to shut down or go into self-preservation instead. I had one of my best friends ever. He was highly sensitive, but he seemed to be insensitive. Like he didn't seem to tune into the world around him. He definitely was not compassionate. And I wondered about that. And these pieces started to kind of fall into place as I was prepping for this episode today. Sometimes we can get so overloaded, we shut down or we go into self-preservation. That's where my friend was, self-preservation. And that's okay. It's part of learning where, I won't say boundaries. Boundaries is such an overused term. I would say where your limits are. Where you're not taking care of your sensitivity. Maybe that's boundaries. I don't know. So let's talk about the challenge and relief of someone who's really sensitive. Let's get real. Being highly sensitive, while beautiful, is not easy. It is beautiful for other people, for the most part, unless someone is on overload and they're in self-preservation, then it can be kind of cruel and it can be hard to be around a person like that. But generally speaking, being highly sensitive, people like that. They feel seen, they feel taken care of. But being highly sensitive is not always easy. You might feel drained by crowds or by emotionally intense people or like loud spaces. You might struggle to separate your own feelings from people around you, and sometimes you might burn out from always wanting to help, always feeling on, and you can end up feeling resentful or even numb, and you go into that shutdown, that self-preservation. But here's something I learned on a recent trip. There's true relief in being around someone who isn't as sensitive or tuned in as you. Someone independent, self-contained, who's not reading the room 24/7, you might find your nervous system relaxing. You can drop your inner host mode. It's kind of an emotional vacation. At least that's what I experienced. So let me tell you the story. Traveling with my independent friend, and I'll bring this story to life. In November, it was Thanksgiving time, I traveled with one of my best friends in Austin, and we went to this wonderful retreat place a couple hours out of Austin. And she didn't notice the little things I'd normally fuss over. And she was really present when I asked for something, and I loved that, but she was kind of in her own bubble. So instead of naturally wanting to help by checking, the temperature of the room, her emotions, noticing her water needed refilling, or making meals, Isla was the definition of independent. She's happy to do her own thing. And one of the phrases she said to me that really touched me deeply is live and let live. That's how she approaches the world and people. And for me, it was very relaxing to be around. But at first it threw me off. She didn't notice the little things that I'd normally fuss about, but instead of feeling like, oh, she's not taking care of me, which is weird, right? Or she didn't appreciate the things I was doing, I discovered an amazing peace in not being watched or tracked. I could just be. And of course, when I asked for something, she was loving and right there, help with the dishes or support managing work calls. She simply said yes. There was no drama, no questions. There was just alignment. And there was one day where I noticed boundaries really mattered. She'd had a long day of emotionally intense coaching calls, and I could feel that as a highly sensitive person, like even through the walls. And she suggested that, it would be okay, or I suggested, would it be okay if you were to do the calls in your room? And she completely was like, yeah, that's fine. You're fine. And I didn't realize how that would preserve my own energy. And she was great with it. We both got our needs met. No conflict, just clarity and a loving, peaceful harmony. Because here's the thing, if a highly sensitive person goes into self-preservation, that's not an energy you want to be around, because they can be resentful and they can be snarky. What a great word, right? And instead of the highly sensitive person tuning in like, this is what I need, communicating, they allow their snarkiness to do it for them. It creates space, pushes people away. Not a very healthy way to be a highly sensitive person, right? So her relaxed vibe was such a gift for me. And she was such a loving person and accepting. First time that my service dog traveled, who was nervous, settled in after a few days, and he was able to let some of the nervousness go from being in a new place. But she didn't make me feel bad about it, even though the dog was nervous. And that was such a gift. Because me, as a highly sensitive person, I wanted to accommodate. I was always on. That was one thing she observed about me. You're taking the dog's sensitivity and reaction far worse than me. Amazing, right? What a gift she brought to me. So let's start to talk about manifesting as a highly sensitive person, receiving and being a mindful achiever. And that brings me to a major insight. Being a mindful achiever or a true manifester as a highly sensitive person is more about receiving and way less than giving. Now, many sensitive folks are wired to give until they're depleted. But manifesting, creating your best outcomes that you want, requires you to settle, to relax, to receive. You have to allow space for support. You have to allow space for allowing others to help you. And through that spaciousness, you can experience the abundance, the joy, the prosperity. Because if you're giving, it's a very masculine nature. It's very driven. And if you're not pausing and you're not in the feminine, it will be very hard to receive the outcomes that you want. So how do you do that? We'll talk about that in just a minute. I'd like to give you a quick practical exercise, building your receiving muscle. It's simple, it's powerful, and it's perfect for people who are sensitive, people who want to become more effective and successful at manifesting, and for those of you who want to become mindful achievers, being present. So let's pause and check in. And if you're able to do this and you're not driving, I invite you to go ahead and follow along with the exercise with me. If you're driving and it's not safe for you to just pause, then you can come back to this. Take a deep breath in, and I'd like you to close your eyes if you can. Exhale out the earlier part of your day. Take another deep breath in. And exhale out any free-floating thoughts. Let it go. Keep your eyes closed just for a moment. Ask yourself, what do I need right now? What do I need right now For me, I need a drink of water. Got a little scratchy throat. Now, it's not what you think you should need or what others expect or what you think would truly support or nourish you. It's truly a basic, what do you need right now? And it could be nothing, or it could be a nap, or it need to have a conversation with a loved one. I need to clear the air. Next, identify potential support. Is there someone, a friend, a colleague, partner, mentor you could ask for help? Maybe just to hold space for you to speak about what's going on, because we often hear ourselves think and feel what's going on when someone else is deeply listening. Is there someone you could ask for a favor? Then I invite you to make a gentle request. Reach out. It can be as small as, hey, I just need a listening ear for about 10 or 15 minutes. Or, I just need to go out for a cup of tea or coffee with you and just be. Or I just need a walk in nature and I'd love to do it with you. Or if you live with someone, I just need a cup of tea. And then practice receiving. Now this is a big one. And I'm going to give you a couple exercises on practice receiving. When support comes, breathe it in. When someone offers to carry your groceries out to the car, accept it. When someone offers to take the shopping cart back that you just, wheeled all your groceries out, receive it, accept it. When someone offers to let you cut in front of the line, receive it, accept it. Notice what it feels in your body. What does it feel like to let help land? Now, this is an important one for highly sensitive people, without immediately reciprocating or deflecting. Why do you think receiving is essential for manifesting success? What would you guess? Why is that important? Well, if you could perceive your own needs and you could provide for yourself, you'd be doing it. You don't like to ask other people, right? But receiving is essential for manifesting because it allows the universe to do for you. It allows people to show up for you. It allows synchronistic moments to happen because you're not just in the doing, giving, working. You're pausing. It's in the pause where the magic happens. I don't know if you've ever done breath work, but when you take a deep breath and you hold it, and then you deeply exhale, most people don't exhale fully. And I think it's that there's like this gentle balance and gentle flow of breathing, holding, and exhaling. And that allows us to receive even more. We can take even deeper breath. Most of us breathe shallowly anyway, so it's super important breath. So allow yourself to receive if someone wants to do something for you, and even ask. Make a gentle request. All right, so here's some final thoughts and a call to action. If you're a highly sensitive person, remember, your empathy is a gift, but you don't have to give it all the time. You can turn it on and turn it off, but first you have to have awareness that you are giving. Maybe you're holding space. Maybe you're absorbing other people's emotions so they feel less stressful. It's okay to give yourself a break, to not take on other people's emotions. Put up some shields. It's also okay to ask for help and let yourself be cared for. Let yourself receive. That's not just about self-preservation. It's essential for creating the life that you want, for creating the outcomes, the manifesting outcomes you want. And if this resonated at all, if this episode, I'd love you to check out my book, Mindful Achiever. I'll put the link in the show notes. It's on Amazon. It's packed with mindful manifesting tools, exercises, stories from my own journey. And as a sensitive person navigating this big, sometimes loud, but always beautiful world, it can be helpful. It can be helpful. I'd love to hear your experience with sensitivity, empathy, and receiving. Reach out on socials or email and share how you balance giving and receiving in your life. Thanks so much for listening, for caring, and tuning in to being the best version of yourself and being that sensitive person who is always loving and giving. And as we wrap up, remember, as you confirm yourself, you chart your own path to success. So much love, many blessings, and Happy New Year. This is the first episode of the new year. Bye for now.